Marjorie Taylor Greene may no longer be in Congress, but her war with Donald Trump is still very much ongoing because Marjorie Taylor Greene now has the Secret Service going after her. Yes, the latest leak from Marjorie Taylor Greene, her latest war waged against Trump, has him so upset that the Secret Service is now following what she does. And the reason is pretty hysterical. And of course, it has to do with Epstein. But before we get into it all, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into why the Secret Service is now after Marjorie Taylor Greene in monitoring Marjorie Taylor Greene. Really, they should have been doing that a long time ago, but of course they're doing it now because of Epstein. So we gotta start with the context of what set Trump off so much. And it comes in the latest reporting on Epstein, Donald Trump's cover-up, Pam Bondi's cover-up, Kash Patel's cover-up from Ari Melber right here.
Presidency. He is facing accusations of breaking the law abroad and at home, and a big legal inquiry that has taken up most of our broadcast tonight with that terrible shooting in Minneapolis. Now, I want to turn to lawmakers dialing up pressure on DOJ under Trump for breaking a different law, which is another big story that he might prefer to go away. The DOJ is breaking the Epstein law that Trump signed, the Epstein Transparency Act. They have released a tiny portion of files when they faced the original deadline, which landed in December, exactly 1 month after the humiliating loss that Trump faced when his own party rebuffed him and required him to stop hiding documents and covering up for Epstein for whatever reasons Trump and his policies had done. And now we see lawmakers in both parties saying that it is clear that Trump DOJ is breaking the law, and they're threatening criminal sanctions over that.
Typically, like with contempt, you might refer that to the DOJ, and then the DOJ never prosecutes itself. And then the problem goes away at the end of the Congress because it's contempt because they're not in compliance with the congressional subpoena, which expires at the end of Congress. This law does not expire at the end of Congress, and so they've got a real problem. The contempt that the Congress refers, they could be in jeopardy of that even after this Congress expires.
Massey is speaking in sort of the legal process there, but the bottom line about the real problem he's mentioning is a reference to that soon enough, and mind you, he's a Republican, he's saying they could be out of office, and an ensuing administration could actually hold them in contempt, and people could get in trouble. Chuck Schumer says Congress wants that list of government officials that's required and asks what they're hiding. There's also the admission from the DOJ that there's 2 million Epstein documents still under review, with 12,000 documents that reach up to over 100,000 pages released. That would actually mean they've only done 1% of the files that they say exist. Lawmakers turning to external pressure. A bipartisan group wants an audit of this process. Democratic senators also trying to put the heat specifically on Trump's chief of staff, seeking more information because she claimed in a recent interview that she's looked over these files that Trump has named but isn't doing anything awful. Trump's DOJ has said this review could take weeks more. This is after they've had 6 weeks, give or take, and claimed they'd done a review and claimed they had 200 lawyers working on this.
I always say this, and I will continue to. We have to talk about the law. Breaking that is happening right now, not in an abstract context of happened, right? Like it's in the past. It is ongoing every day, every hour, every second that the Epstein files in full are not released, because it's only, as Ari Melber is saying, about 1% of them out. Well, we have to call that what it is, ongoing obstruction of justice by everyone at the DOJ. And it really leads me to believe one thing, and it's part of the reason why Donald Trump is now following every move that Marjorie Taylor Greene makes. It's because Donald Trump wasn't just friends with Epstein. He didn't bump into him at some party in Palm Beach. That type of language makes the incidents, the assaults, the crimes sound singular, right? Sound isolated. Donald Trump was a part of the larger cabal. Robert Garcia yesterday stated that they're looking into the trafficking that was happening at Mar-a-Lago. The mechanics of this are much bigger, and the crimes are much deeper. There is so much more to uncover. And it's why Donald Trump is so scared of Marjorie Taylor Greene speaking out and continuing to cause problems, especially when she is organizing more than just action against him, but apparently protest as well. And it's what set Donald Trump sicking the Secret Service on Marjorie Taylor Greene. And I want to get into it. This one's a doozy. White House alerted Secret Service to Marjorie Taylor Greene. After Trump's dinner humiliation, the relationship between Donald Trump and one of his most fervent supporters grew so fraught, Secret Service was alerted. Marjorie Taylor Greene, MAGA's top defector, is suspected of setting up the president to be protested at a restaurant. Greene suggested he visit. White House aides told Axios the White House then tipped off the Secret Service about the alleged betrayal. Trump's visit to the popular lobbyist hangout, Joe's Seafood, in Washington, D.C. in September was hijacked by activists who shouted "Free D.C., Free Palestine," and "Trump is the Hitler of our time." Before they were hauled out, Trump visited the joint just minutes from the White House to prove how safe D.C. streets were amid his crime crackdown in the capital. But his trip to the restaurant, where a tuna steak cost more than $45, became a public relations disaster. And some White House insiders believe Marjorie Taylor Greene was the mastermind. The White House reportedly told the Secret Service that Greene, one of Trump's fiercest allies, directly tipped off the anti-war activist group Code Pink that Trump would be at the restaurant. According to Axios, the claim is based on suspicion rather than evidence though, and Greene vehemently denied it. Greene allegedly hammered the phones of the White House staffers on the day of Trump's surprise visit in a bid to confirm that the 79-year-old was definitely going to show up. As a result, Trump allegedly confirmed he would, but MTG didn't join as expected. This struck some Trump aides as odd, Axios reported. Okay, so the Secret Service is now monitoring and likely following Marjorie Taylor Greene because allegedly, according to White House aides, she set up Donald Trump to be protested. There is so much that I want to break down. I want to start with this though, and it's maybe the most important part because I want to get into Epstein. I want to get into Marjorie Taylor Greene, so stick around. But this is the most important part. This is a report that came out today, right? This report came out today, happened in September, came out today. Marjorie Taylor Greene left Congress a few days ago. This report came out today. Why is the White House so anxious to dig up dirt and try to position Marjorie Taylor Greene as someone who put Donald Trump in danger, in harm's way? MAGA is always talking about how afraid they are for Donald Trump. Oh my God. The left is always trying to sick their crazies on him. Like the Republican who attempted to assassinate him, and then the other Republican who attempted to assassinate him. So I don't really know where the left factors in here. But what I do know is that the White House is desperate, that we are 3 weeks past the deadline for them to release the Epstein files. And instead of doing so, they're releasing claims about Marjorie Taylor Greene many months ago, setting up Donald Trump to be protested for a genocide that he's funding, and he is. Donald Trump is funding Israel's genocide. Let's be completely honest about that. Joe Biden in part did as well. Well, let's also be honest about that. You can be upset with me for saying that, but it's just the truth. This is not a both sides in the way that, CBS decided that January 6th was a both sides, right? There are more. Republicans are more. I'm sorry. There are more Democrats, progressives, let's be honest, who are speaking out and calling for an end of the funding of this ongoing genocide by the US government. But let's just be real. In a state of panic, looking for anyone to scapegoat any level of anger or frustration that can be placed on Marjorie Taylor Greene. And it again, I just have to say what they are most worried about. And it's funny, because it's kind of like baked into this Marjorie Taylor Greene theory that she was organizing a protest, and she's this mastermind. They're worried about us starting to talk about the Epstein files in that way. Now, again, I don't want to minimize Donald Trump's crimes. I don't want to say the assaults and what he knew, what he covered up, what he's covering up right now. I don't want to minimize that in any way and say that that is not enough to elicit the response that we have. Of course, it is what we know. What has already been accidentally leaked out of the Epstein files would be enough to end any presidency, and it should. But MAGA's a cult. But I find it very interesting that the DOJ is so desperate to paint this and all the language that they use in Donald Trump, as well as individual incidents of people bumping into Epstein, right? Even when, Pam Bondi or Kash Patel, or certainly Trump talks about the other people who could be hurt, right? They say, oh, well, they bumped into Epstein in Palm Beach, right? They accidentally ran into him at a party or a dinner. They want it to seem like isolated incidents when it's Marjorie Taylor Greene in a seafood restaurant that Donald Trump got protested at. Because Donald Trump gets protested wherever he goes in DC, saying 95% of the people who live in Washington would love to scream at Donald Trump and tell him to fuck off, because he's a criminal and he's a war criminal. But they say that's Marjorie Taylor Greene. So Donald Trump, right, not a mastermind of anything that was going down with Epstein and his larger cabal of criminals, but Marjorie Taylor Greene, a mastermind of this protest stunt. It'd be one thing, and again, not to minimize, but Donald Trump, having been engaged in the criminal activity, with Epstein engaged in the assaults, all the disgusting things we already know. But to be leading, it is different. To be working with Ghislaine Maxwell is different, right? And that's what we saw in some of the most recent Epstein files. Trump on a plane with Maxwell, just the two of them, with someone that the US attorney who sent that email said could be a potential witness. They just wanted to flag it. So how much does that tell you Donald Trump was involved? Really? And that's what Marjorie Taylor Greene is going to be talking about, and all the time that she's outside of Congress, and that's why the Secret Service is now paying attention to her. But we are going to continue to cover it all. We will not be intimidated. We will call out Donald Trump. And also, again, we will call out any Democrat who does not believe in the universality of human rights and says, we need to feed children at home. We need to stop people from being killed by a police state, but does not extend that same feeling towards the people in Gaza. I believe in a universality in our politics, and I believe we need to call out anyone who doesn't. Okay, that's going to include Democrats. But that's what we're going to do on this show. Free DC. Free Palestine. Trump is the Hitler of our time. That's the mantra of this show. That's what it's going to be. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around at the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Keep on fighting, y'all. Don't let him silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.